Howdy. Welcome to my shop. My name's Ron and I'll be your host for the next 10 minutes or so. Being a fourth generation carpenter, wood is that's my language. It's my living, it's my hobby, it's my passion. One of those passions is making stocks. I've never had any formal training in this. I just wanted to put a piece of wood on a gun one day, and I seemed like that'd be a pretty unique challenge, so I tried it. And been going at it ever since, but honestly, I owe a lot of my success to my customers, my friends that have suggested this or that, different ways of doing it to produce a better outcome. And so I appreciate them. I owe them a great deal. The finish that I use was suggested by a friend of mine that owns a gun shop in Georgia, a guy named Dan. I've been friends with him for many years, and I owe him for that knowledge. So I don't suggest that my way is the only way. That's just not the case. I picked up my abilities to do this from watching other people and seeing other things and then figuring out how to do that. So it's a process. Some ways are better, cleaner, faster. They require less effort. On and on it goes. And I'm open to learning new and better ways. I'm always looking for that. My grandfather used to say, never let a day go by that you don't learn something. So when I do, I'll often look up, thanks, Pop, because no matter how old you get, you still need to be learning new things. So come on in, see what's going on today. Valuable stuff. I've got this down to 220 all the way around from here back. That's all I'm going to go with right now. Eventually I'll take it down to 320, but I won't do that until I'm done with the front and with my other work, because I will be putting clamps and pads on this to hold it. I'll clamp it here to work on the front, which I'm going to take down with a bandsaw right now. Alright, on this particular stock I have a pattern to go by. This is one I made years ago, like I said, for my grandsons. I'm going to make the new stock for myself, so it's going to be a little bit beefier on the forearm, a little tiny bit thicker through here, although it doesn't need it for strength. It just needs it for looks and balance, I guess. So what I've done is I have laid these two stalks together, and I've drawn a line on the top. I've outlined this, and I've added about a 1/16 or so on both sides. Then I've taken this pencil line that goes from about 3/8 to 1/8 with a nice fair curve in it, convex, and I've transferred it to the other side here. I've got pencil line on both sides because I can put this flat surface down on my bandsaw. Trying to cut it this way, the pistol grip gets in the way. It hits it. Trying to cut it upside down, it sits nice and flat. So here we go. The thing about a bandsaw, and I know I was holding this thing like so and holding my fingers behind the blade and paring it off freehand, and that's not probably OSHA approved. I understand that, but to do that I had to raise this bearing guard way up to get this underneath here. I don't have to do that anymore, and it's a good idea as far as a safety thing to bring your guard, which keeps you from getting tangled up in that blade, which is not fun, to where only your work will fit underneath there. That's all I need. Is just enough for the work to fit underneath there. That keeps the blade and my fingers from getting acquainted. I'm I'm fine with that. Close enough for a bandsaw. All right, when I took that extra wood off, I exposed some streaks, some dark streaks, and actually on this side I got a strip of brown, real reddish brown. I got gray, brown, reddish brown, and back to gray brown. So you don't know these things. You just don't know them until you expose them. You just don't know they're in there. And sometimes they'll surprise you good, and sometimes they surprise you not so good. But most of the time, if you do your homework and you look at what you're doing to start with, it's exciting to see what's inside there, what you expose. Now I'm going to hold this by the buttstock that I have already got down pretty close to where it goes. I've got some tapered blocks. Actually, I'm going to just try wrapping a rag around it because it's not that much of a taper. You can take a hand towel, fold it 3 or 4 times, and you can pad these jaws. It'll hold it pretty secure. If it doesn't, I can always add some tapered blocks. Main thing is it protects your wood, it keeps it from dinging it, denting it. I always put wood jaws in my vise. That's some real hard rock curly maple that I came up with a few years ago. I'm going to start on top because I have the lines where my receiver and my barrel go, and I know they're right. So I'm going to start and go both ways, and I'm going to start paring this down. I actually marked my line, but I left about a 1/16 more than what my line is. I'll take this down with a plane because this grain is fairly straight. Back here where it was all curly, you don't touch it with a plane. It'll dig in, it'll chew it all up. But a plane on this, because you're using long, smooth lines. If that starts digging in, you'll hear it. It'll chatter. If it's cutting, you'll hear that. If it starts digging, you want to stop and either go the other direction or just don't use the plane. What I'm doing is rounding over on top. I'm bringing that, the sides have got to be a nice, gentle round. On the bottom, it curves around pretty good. On the top, it curves in. And I'm just bringing this top in. there is some quilting, I'll show it to you in a minute, on this front. There's some real pretty grain that I didn't even know was there until now, but it's going to really sparkle when this thing's finished. This grain is actually so straight, I can push it or pull it. That is a quality piece of wood. Actually, it doesn't like being pulled from this side, or pushed. I think it would rather be pulled. Yeah. This transition from the back of the receiver, which is one of the fattest parts of the rifle, down to this slim wrist pistol grip, it's got to flow smoothly. It's a transition place. Probably couldn't see it from that side shot, but from here, being right in the middle, you can see this top flat is the same size from here to here. Get to the front of the receiver, that little flat is the same width from there to there. In this area, you want complete symmetry. And as it goes forward, with that same width, I could measure that, but I can also eyeball it and tell that it's within very few thousandths of an inch. On the front, that little flat is the same there and there. That's your objective. Now, you're not going to leave this a sharp edge. Eventually that'll get rounded over a teeny bit, just a little bit. There are no sharp edges on guns except for on the inside where the receiver is protecting that. You don't want sharp edges because they get dinged real easily. See this little sharp edge here, that'll be smoothed over. Same thing on this side.